So success and happiness is an important subject, and success from the ordinary point of view means happiness. But sometimes success is not accompanied by happiness. There are many people who are considered successful and prosperous in life, but if we could know their internal lives, and especially their internal feelings, we would see that they were not happy. But there is a true prosperity in which happiness is not only a temporary thing, but is eternal. And that's the success and the happiness which we want. And that's the success and the happiness which is due us, which is our birthright. And that success and happiness is not temporary, but permanent. True prosperity is permanent. Now, worldly success is not lasting success. Realize these simple things. It's nice to have things of this world, but it is not lasting. We know that things of this world pass away, and that although we may accumulate many things, we have the chance that they be lost. They can be lost. But true prosperity can never be lost. True prosperity, the success of true prosperity depends upon the realization that our true spiritual treasure is found in the eternal consciousness of God. That can never be lost. If we will but realize these things and put our efforts toward permanent and lasting prosperity, and the greatest of all, which is our birthright oneness with God, then we will never be unhappy. We may have success in this world existence. There are many, many cases of it. But if we have true prosperity, success or not, in this worldly living, we have God, then we have eternal success, eternal happiness, which is what we all are searching for and striving for. Now, true success and happiness necessitates the leading of a balanced life. Do not think because you are following religion that you should not lead a balanced life. The most balanced person is the person who knows God, because then he can judge between things of this world which are not lasting, are impermanent. He can judge between those and the things of God which are permanent. And so the man of God, I do not mean the simply religious person according to dogmatic principles. I mean the one who knows God. He can judge. It's like having a mediocre car and then obtaining, well, I was going to say a Cadillac, but I've seen other cars that are pretty good besides the Cadillac. But anyway, having another car, and you ride in that better car, you can judge. And so, when you feel the prosperity of oneness with God, then you can judge. And I know which one you'll take. It will not be worldly success and happiness. It'll be that success and happiness as a child of God and one who knows it. Not in imagination, not in idea, but in realization. That's true success. That's true happiness. And so the first important thing in a balanced life, or the important things, are these. Meditation. I put that first because that is the greatest. Intellectual studies are necessary. Health is necessary. Although if you haven't health, do not be discouraged. You can attain God with health or no health. Happiness is another of the five. And the last one, which sometimes isn't by any means the least, money making. It's awful good, isn't it, to have a little money jingling around. But it must be made in the proper way, with the proper ideals. And we'll come to that. Let us first take meditation. Meditation means contacting what I just have spoken of, the eternal consciousness of God. That's the only true meditation. All other methods are simply practice methods. Meditation means concentration on God. And finally, through His grace, contacting Him, contacting His eternal, all-pervading consciousness. That's true meditation. Now every day in sleep we have to go back to God. We have to contact Him. But that's in an automatic way. It's a way of evolution, but it's automatic. We have to do it whether we want to or not, because God has seen to it, the cosmic law has seen to it, that we're going back to Him whether we like it or not. But we do not need to stop there. We can use the independent action of the soul. We can act from the soul instead of being an automaton. We can act from the soul and consciously make the effort to return home to God. And this method, through independent action, will give us God contact. You will not get it fully through sleep, although we sense it because we feel awful good in the morning sometime. Why? Because we've been mixing with God, but in an unconscious way. But by independent action from the soul, you can consciously go to God, consciously contact His eternal consciousness, and know that you are never separated from Him. That's right meditation. That's why I have put meditation first, because it is the most essential of these 5 qualities, 5 necessities, so to speak, to have success and happiness. Now, you must remember this, that although it takes a long time, some of you, I can feel you smiling within. It takes a long time. That's right. Let's say it again. It takes a long time. Some time. But we should not be discouraged because we are judging from this side. But the moment you start to turn toward God, the moment you start to be better, as Sri Yukteswarji said, the moment the devotee starts toward God, he improves spiritually. You do not see the other side. You do not see the heavenly side, but as Master said, the candles that you are lighting and burning in your Father's house will show you your way here and hereafter. And so understand, the moment you start, don't be discouraged. I've been all through it. Don't be discouraged. I used to complain to the Master. He says, well, don't worry, just keep on. Keep on. It's karma that does it. Keep on. Yes, sir. And I kept on, but don't stop. That's the important thing. Keep on until finally you reach the goal. But I think the greatest reference, and I like to give it, and I give it many times, because it does satisfy you and shows you there's no right for you to be discouraged. There's no need of it. Listen what it says, what Daniel says. Then said he unto me, Fear not, Daniel, for from the first day that thou didst set thine heart to understand, just think, from the first day you turn toward God and say, Father, I want Thee. I know I have been this and that and I have troubles. Never mind, I want Thee. From the moment you do that, and to chasten thyself before thy God, that means do something about it, not just hope for it, but meditate regularly. The moment you do that, thy words were heard. Thy words were heard. And I am come, not I will come, I am come for thy word. Why should we be discouraged? The moment he who has made billions of universes, it seems, there are many, 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 many suns, he who has made all these things surely can take care of his own children, rays of his eternal life. And yet we doubt him. We should not doubt him. We should not be discouraged. There's no need of it. And that's just one reference, or two with Sri Yukteswarji's words. Look at the flowers. Look at them. Who has made those? He who has made these flowers and all flowers of the earth, and especially his own children made in his image. Why should we be discouraged? Let us not be discouraged anymore, but keep on feeling within our heart the pull of God's love. And realize the moment you turn toward God, you improve. The moment you begin to meditate and become spiritual, you change and things will change for the better for you. Now at first you may doubt that, because when you turn within and then you run up against the problem. But if you persevere, Even though it seems untrue, things from that moment when you turn within are improving for you. And so we should not be discouraged. Now the next thing is intellectual studies. Intellectual studies are good, provided they spur us on to realize truth. You can study self-realization teachings, which are intellectual, but in those teachings you are given many, many opportunities to realize the truth behind these intellectual teachings. Therefore, we should not stop with the theoretical knowledge of the intellect. We should go behind that and use the intuition of the soul to realize truth and not just be satisfied with theoretical knowledge. Intellectual study is all right. Some of us have to have it. We're made up that way. Some don't care. They just, I want God, and they're lucky. Some have to have this intellectual study. So that is another thing which we must do in balanced living. Third is health. Without it, it's difficult to be successful even in worldly things, isn't it? We must realize, and in spiritual things with a nagging body and mind, I almost said wife, but I didn't. I should say husbands and wives. With that going on, it's very difficult to attain self-realization. And so health is an important thing. I remember I used to feel, well, if God's all, what's the use of the body? Let it go. Master said, no. The body is the only vehicle you will have to attain God and be successful and truly happy. We must realize these things and take care of it, but not spend too much time with it, otherwise we'll never find God. We'll be taken up with it, which means the body and ego consciousness. Then we come to another point, which is happiness. Happiness is very important. Happiness, if you look at the lives of the saints, and I, of course, remember especially our Master, because he lived in our home, and I've known him for many years, as you know, and he was so happy all the time, and I know things weren't always good. I don't know how he stood up under it, but he was always joyful and happy. And as he used to say, smile if it kills you. That's right, smile. Because God wants us to do that way, and the more we do that, even though we're half dead, the more we'll find God. Because we will not give up. Master said, never leave his side no matter what happens. And this is an illustration of what may happen. And so we must smile. We must smile. And I often tell the story of the optimist. Many of you have heard it. He fell 10 stories, you know, and at each window bar shouted, all right so far. So let us realize that we must be happy, not because it's conventional, because it isn't, but it's because our nature should be. As Shri Tesraji said, life is not a funeral ceremony, that is, religious life should not be a funeral ceremony. And so we should radiate happiness as much as we can. It certainly does help people. Someone who is a wet blanket, the whole world seems terrible. But a joyful person, it does help the one or the persons whom they meet. And so we should radiate that kindness. We should have a kind word for everybody. And that brings me to a little thing I read just yesterday about a kind word for everybody. This tired businessman, he came to a restaurant, and he went in, and he told the waitress, he said, bring me some toast, and a couple soft-boiled eggs, and a cup of coffee, and a kind word. So the waitress brought back these things, and brought the toast and the eggs and the coffee, and just before she left, he says, where's the kind word? Well, she whispered to him, don't eat the eggs. So, remember the kind word. I couldn't help that because the subject this morning is joyful. We should be joyful and happy. Well, I thought that was a very kind word she told him. There must have been, of course, something wrong with the eggs. Now, we've got that happiness situation fixed. Now about money making. Money making is important. I know we see illustrations of money making which are detrimental to be laid as a part of the human race. We know that. But still, look at the indolent countries and the backward countries who are not industrious. Money making is necessary, especially if it is done with the idea of service to your country and to one another and to the world, and it is not made with the idea of greed. Money making is necessary. Right money making is necessary. Take our own Rajarsi, who made quite a bit of money, as I understand, but see what he has done with it. He has placed self-realization fellowship on a firm financial basis. I think that's well. I think that's good. So let us realize, and the great Larry Marsha said he believed that everyone should be self-supporting, not be depending upon others, and in the privacy of his own home, that they should carry out self-realization. That's what the great Larry Marsha, a great householder saint, said. And so money-making is not evil unless it is made with the idea of greed, and service is not included in the money-making. These points are wonderful to remember. I remember Master's poem. He used to say, more especially in the early days, he used to say, Father, Heavenly Father, give us prosperity for the body, efficiency for the mind, and thy love for our soul. That's a wonderful prayer. And if you want to help people, you can help them financially, you can help them mentally. Of course, the greatest help that you can give is if the grace of God flows through you and descends upon you, then you can give them a little bit of God, if it is His will. These are the greatest things to remember on the subject, success and happiness. Now another thing which we must remember in discussing this subject, success and happiness, is karma. Karma is very important. Karma is a great big subject, but I'm not going to discuss it at any length, just to say that everything that we find ourselves engaged in, or which comes our way, so to speak, or which doesn't come our way, is the result of our previous action, either in a previous life or this life. Therefore, accept it. But do not accept the fact that you cannot find God. That's the point. If you accept your position, you'll feel happy, especially if you do not stop there, but keep on and find God. That's the way we should look at karma. I remember up to the Hermitage one time, Master was meditating out in the piazza, and I was with him, and he was telling me the wonderful things he was seeing and so forth. And I said, Sir, I see the spiritual eye, but why don't I see those things? He says, karma. Karma. What'll I do? I said. He says, keep on. Keep on. Keep on meditating. You're bound to win. You cannot help it, because everyone, as Ramakrishna says, everyone will return to God. And Jesus said, not one of these little ones, he meant his disciples, not one of these little loved ones will ever be lost. Not one of us will be lost. Only we can delay it by our own free will. Let us understand karma in this life. For instance, there are many people, intellectual people, which cannot seem to attain anything. They're poor and unhealthy. And some indolent people are disgustingly healthy and wealthy. How can you explain it except through the law of karma? But do not stop there. Perhaps in a previous life you were the opposite to what you are now, if you do not think you are in the right place or receiving what you should. Never mind. You can in a moment receive God's love and His presence, because He does not exist in the past. The past is a false condition. The future we should not look to. Right now is where God exists. Right now within us. The eternal, ever-conscious, blissful, eternal existence. Master used to call it ever-new joy. When? Not yesterday, not tomorrow, now. Now is the thing. Now is the eternal presence of God. Brother Lawrence said, practice the eternal presence of God. Not next week. Right now, this moment, do it. Feel His love in your heart. And so, 2 points to remember. That's all I'll give about karma, is stop laying up any new undesirable karma. Stop laying up any new. How? Operate from independent action of the soul. Take God with you. Search Him out. Contact Him. Let Him guide you before you act. Before you will and act. Guide thou my will and activity to do the right thing that I should do. Contact God first before you lay up any more undesirable karma. And that karma which you have laid up and which you wish to be free from, meditation is the way. Meditation is invaluable. You cannot get along without meditation. By meditation I mean right meditation in which you contact the presence of God within, in which you practice Kriya Yoga. Kriya Yoga burns up those seeds of karma so that they cannot disrupt you. They cannot disturb your peace. And if you have contact with God, to tell you the truth, you will not care whether they disturb you or not. Such is the power of God. Such is His love. And so we must realize karma. Karma must be reckoned with. I have a little reference here to read you at this time about karma from Master's autobiography. Identifying himself with a shallow ego. Watch the ego. Identifying himself with a shallow ego, man takes for granted that it is he who thinks and wills and feels, digests food, and keeps himself alive, never admitting through reflection, and only a little would suffice, the Master says, that in his ordinary life he is not but a puppet of past action, karma, and of nature or environment. Each man's intellectual reactions, feelings, moods, and habits are circumscribed by effects of past actions, past causes, whether of this or a prior life. There are your Master's words. Let us heed them. Now, going on, as I have said, meditation is the key point. Meditation is invaluable in attaining success and happiness, especially true prosperity and true happiness. And you can realize meditation means, Kriya Yoga especially, burning up these seeds which keep popping up within us, keeping us attached to this world existence, keeping us in ego consciousness, which leads to nowhere. But by Kriya Yoga, we can remove these obstructions so that we can feel the presence of God. We can attain contact with God, and having contact with God, we are filled with determination. We are filled with the realization that nothing can stop us from realizing our oneness with God. Such is meditation. Such is the importance of meditation. We cannot afford not to meditate if you want to be successful and happy and attain true prosperity. And as I have said, the greatest incentive comes by God contact, wherein you realize that you are not separated from Him. The greatest sin is that we feel ourselves here and God there. That's not true. God is in each one of us, but through delusion, He has created this idea of individuality, which is so darkening at times. But in your meditation, you know time disappears, and you know there is no separation between you and the love of your Father. Keep in that more. Keep in that meditation more. Be more with Him. You do not have to wait even till you sit down to meditate. Right now, wherever you are, talk to Him. Feel, God, I love Thee. I need Thee, and Thee alone. I'll be satisfied with nothing else. That's the way to win. Never mind, meditation, the opportunity comes where groups meditate. That's wonderful due to the increased power of united hearts and minds. But do not stop there. Right now, any moment, wherever you are, you can feel God's love. Think of it. What do? Put on condition. Condition our consciousness. Well, I'll wait till I get home and then I'll do my meditation. No. Feel him now. He's there, as Master says, talking to you, talking to me, talking to us all. Why not talk to him? Why not say, yes, Father, I love thee. I want thee because I now know there's nothing in this universe that amounts to anything but you, your love. That's the way to win true success and true happiness. And I have a reference to that point here, which one of the great saints has said, and listen carefully, it's a beautiful reference. He says the divine order arranges our future more wisely than any insurance company. Sometimes the insurance companies fail. And sometimes there's a little clause there. And you're deprived of your right. But in God there's no clauses. Once you know him, full coverage by his love. This is a great thing. Now, the divine order arranges our future more wisely than any insurance company. The world is full of uneasy believers in an outward security. How true that is. Their bitter thoughts are like scars on their forehead. The one who gave us air and milk from our first breath knows how to provide day by day for his devotees. But we forget it. We do not remember. These are the words of one of the great saints of which Master has written. God is the greatest insurance company. He's the greatest one to have security in his great love. And so finally, there are some very interesting points found in Master's little book, The Law of Success. I know some of you are familiar with it. But in that, some of the greatest things, or most important things, are these, that he says there is nothing that cannot be accomplished by a strong will, and especially if that will is united with God's will. Nothing. Well, the only important thing is to know God. The rest seems so important. This worldly existence with all its trouble seems so important, but it is not. It is nothing compared to finding God. When I was coming out to California, I told Master, it's quite a job, I says, to come out here. He says, it's not half as great a job as finding God. And I found that out. Coming out here was nothing. But if you keep at it, God will respond. And when he responds, you will say, well, I'm so happy I kept on. And so remember, the will is the key to success and happiness. Will is the key, not your will, but your will united to God's will. And so use your will to attain the things that you need. That's all. If you use your will to attain unnecessary necessities, as Master used to say, you'll never find God because you'll never have time. And so we must realize these truths. But the main thing is this, which I found in The Law of Success, the little book. Do not will and act first. That's when all the trouble comes. We get kind of anxious, and then 9 times out of 10 we do the wrong thing. Do not will and act first. First, make the contact with God. First, make the contact, no matter what it is. Turn your attention here and feel in your heart, no matter what you are doing, until you establish the habit. Make the contact with God first. Then he can guide you to do the thing which you should do. And that's according to his will. But I know we get anxious, and we try to take the bull by the horn, so to speak, and then we're in trouble. Find God first. Get him somehow. And then he will guide you to do the right thing, the thing which you should do. Surely he who has made universe upon universe, created all these things, can guide little you and little me. Because he is the one. There's only one power in the universe, and that's God's power. There's only one love. That's God's love. And the same love is in each one of us. But his love is greater, because it is the basis of all human love. Having him, you will not lose the human love. You will gain more human love and his love, which is the greatest thing. Do not, as Master used to say, do not expect honor, because you'll receive dishonor in this world. Do not expect honor. But love God. Love God. Seek him only. Want him only. He will give you the greatest honor. He will bestow upon you his love, which is the greatest honor, because that has to come from him. You cannot get that through Kriya Yoga. You can get into the presence of God, but you have to receive His grace. You have to surrender yourself fully to Him. Then His grace comes. That's the greatest honor. And you will not find it except in humbleness and in love of the one Father. And one reference from the Law of Success Master's book about these things: you should sit in silence before deciding about any important matter, asking the Father for His blessing. Then behind your power is God's power. Behind your mind is His mind. Behind your will is God's will. When God is working with you, you cannot fail. Every faculty you possess will increase in power when you do your work with the thought of serving God or pleasing God. You receive His blessing. And finally, each soul is endowed with the Spirit of God to live above all difficulty, all controversy, in success and in happiness.